Well, Jamaica's government has successfully completed its very first structured securitization transaction, raising some $480 million in international capital markets. The transaction involved securitizing a portion of the Norman Manley International Airport's revenue, with Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited issuing a 12-year bond. The bond was oversubscribed, with applications totaling some $2.3 billion. Now, we're joined this morning by a financial analyst and my very good friend Dennis Chung, who's going to help us to look at this development and dissect it, so to speak. Good morning, Dennis. How are you doing today?
Hi, Richie. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all. Good always to have you on the program, and we depend on your expertise, especially on matters like these. Is this something to celebrate, Dennis?
Yeah, it's a good thing, and companies do it all the while. You'd have heard about receivables financing. So what it is basically is, you know that you have a certain amount of cash flow that you're going to have coming into you. And you basically say to people, listen, or the persons who are buying the bond, I will pay you so that you will take the cash flow over a period of time and you give me the money up front. It's like when if you win the lottery, which I think you might have won it in the US already, right? The $1 billion. You would say, instead of you saying, boy, I take $10 million a year of $100 million to use an easy number, you might say, listen, I will take $90 million. You give me the $90 million and you get the $10 million a year over the next 10 years. That satisfies both parties, because you would get the money up front, and you would start to use all that money up front. And then the person who has the money that they want to put on savings and receive an interest rate over a period of time would have that. So it's a win-win situation for both the person getting the money up front and the person buying the bond. Now, the truth is that it is no different, Richie, if you think about it, than the loans that we got in which pushed us up to 160% debt to GDP, because all it is really is, in both cases, you're taking money against future income. The difference in this case is that the income that you are receiving the securitization on is actually something that is predictable. You know that the airport is going to be operating for the next 12 years, and you're saying that money is coming in. So that is what you use as a guarantee. In the past, when you use debt, then what you would use is a government of Jamaica guarantee against future tax payments that are coming in, to say that, well, we are going to be able to pay you back because we expect this cash flow coming in. Now, what has happened in the past when you have debt, though, is that because tax payments are not predictable, because it depends on the flow of the growth in the Jamaican economy. You'd have seen, particularly in the 90s, for example, that would have tax after tax being thrown on us. That was to pay the debt. In this case, it does not depend on government tax revenues, and therefore the government of Jamaica does not have to give government guarantee of the debt. So it's a much better arrangement for us than getting debt. I'm reminded that we did a similar thing in the 70s and the 80s by when Manley was there and Seaga with the bauxite.
So Dennis, you there? Wow.
Debt stock. So that might have been a difference.
All right. So take us to the very beginning, though. What would have motivated the government to pursue this securitization of the airport revenue and these funds? What are they going to be using it for? Do you know?
Well, I don't know what they're going to be using it for, and that's what we need to hold them accountable to. Because in the past, we've received a lot of debt, and we've received this sort of thing before, and you'd have seen where the country has come out at with little or no proper infrastructure. bad roads and all of that. And we've received significant debt over the period. And we've received this sort of thing with the backside earnings. So we've mortgaged our backside earnings for the future. Now, what we need to do is say to the government, okay, you received this $480 million US. What are you going to use it for? We can't use it to pay salaries and all of those recurring expenses. What we need to do is put it into infrastructure, things that are going to give us a return. In the past, what we've done is borrowed money and just use it to pay salaries. And it got us and the people of Jamaica where we are today, because that doesn't benefit anyone.
So this will this have a positive impact on our revenue streams going forward?
Yeah, man. I think that if we use it properly, it will actually have a positive impact, not just on our revenue streams going forward, but on growth and development for the country. Because $480 million US, putting that, for example, into proper roads, into a proper transportation system, I mean, that would be the first thing I would put it into. I would take that money and put a proper transportation system and a proper road network in place. Obviously, one of the things that will give us a significant return also is renewable energies going on the grid and getting rid of fossil fuels. But that you can do with engaging with companies who actually provide that, as is done now, and just getting them more aggressively on the grid. So for me, it would be transportation, roads, and the school and education. Those are the three things I would put it in order for us to get a good return going forward, and not in salaries. Salaries must depend on productivity of the person who is doing the job.
Even as we are speaking, I see a caller sending me a message saying that I don't agree with this move. So I wanted to ask you then, Dennis, are there risks associated with securitizing airport revenue, and how might those risks be mitigated?
Yeah, well, the only risk, as I said, Richie, is that you get the money and you don't use it properly.
Okay. That
is the only risk. There's no other risk. I mean, what risk is there for somebody saying to you, I mean, just think about your salary, Richie. If you have a salary or a company that you have a contract and the person said to you, okay, I will give you all your money up front. The only risk you have, is that you use all of it right away and you don't have nothing to use in the future. So it's just how you use the money. That is a risk. Yeah. That's the only risk to it. But otherwise, from that is a good transaction and a good way to doing it rather than get debt. To get debt, then, you might have a problem. Well, you definitely will have a problem with the debt to GDP.
The bond was actually oversubscribed, and some people see that as a positive. How does this transaction then impact our credit rating and even investor confidence?
Well, I think that investor confidence is up, certainly with the debt to GDP coming down. It actually improves the rating of the country. And, one of the things people must understand is that you can never get a rating that's higher than the country rating. It's always affected by that. So improving the rating of the country is good. But this transaction itself stands on its own. The fact that it is guaranteed almost future income, and they're saying to you they're giving you 6.75% on US dollars. That's a good return. So I think it stands on its own. I mean, the rating itself for this bond is good, but the government credit rating has been improving over time because of the reduction in the debt to GDP and the improved fiscal situation we have.
How can we, as the average citizen, sort of ensure or, let the government know that we are expecting transparency and accountability in managing this securitized revenue?
Well, the first thing is that you need to make your voice known. So speak on programs like yours, Richie, all over the place, and let people know. And let the government know through this that, we're expecting that they're going to spend the money properly. Speak to a member of parliament, and also we have elections coming up. Make sure that when the various candidates present to you, they present to you a situation that they present in policies, this argument that we have, or this way that we have every year of just criticizing and the Jamaican people vote based on you being critical of something rather than proposing something is wrong. And that's how we have to do it. We need to say to them, listen, tell us, right, in your proposal, your policy proposals that you're going to ask us to vote for you. How are you going to spend this money that you've now mortgaged or gotten the money from? Well, it's basically mortgage your future revenue. Tell us how you're going to spend it, right? And that is what people have to do. I'm hoping that it will happen. You know, I'm hoping that we will start having some proper debate about policies and not being critical alone. You know, because it's one thing to tell me that I can't reach the top of the stairs, and it's another thing to tell me how you are going to reach. You know, and that's what we need to do as a people.
So, as it is now, the government seems to be awash with cash. Would you say that?
Well, they have more cash. Yeah, and we've seen that revenues have been surpassing the targets, but we're nowhere where we're near where we want to be, because we're still growing at growth rates of 1% to 2%, and this is why this transaction is so important. Because if we get this $500 million US, then we should be investing in things, Richie, that give us more than the 1% to 2% growth per year. You know, that's really rubbish. So, as I said, this is a good start, but let's see how the money is used. Proper roads, a proper transportation system, because we are buying all of these cars on the roads, and we are buying all this fuel from overseas. And guess what, Richie? We don't have any oil in the ground, you know. Everything is coming from overseas. So we wonder, when we don't do the investments in these things, why the dollar keep moving. And that's because they keep demanding oil from overseas.
To the best of your knowledge, is the government looking at any other similar type of transaction, securitization transaction going forward?
I'm not sure. I think they said that is something that they are going to use as a model going forward. Of course, you want to ensure that you don't do too much so that you don't affect your income, so that the return, you have to have a balancing act. You want to make sure that the return that you're getting on how you spend the money is not less than the actual need for the cash, right? So you could do some more. I mean, I don't see a problem with that. But as I said, Richie, it's how you spend the money.
Yeah, that's key.
That
is
is
key.
going to be important. That's very, very key. And that's the question people need to be asking.
All right. Going off tangent a little bit in closing, there will be a vacancy in the Ministry of Finance sometime soon for a new Minister of Finance. Would you consider the job?
If I would?
Yes.
No, I'm not in the running for that. No.
Not at all.
I'm an accountant and a cyclist. I want to be cyclist.
Right. No accidents, please. All right. Thank you, Dennis. Have a great day, man. Always a pleasure.
All right, Richie.
Take care.
No problem.
Bye-bye.